recording once again. Right, today we start a new volume. It's volume 39. The theme is on karma. Karma number 3. There are 2 other volumes on karma. And we begin with the very first lesson. Now this is quite a long essay on karma, group karma, right? To be exact. There's a question mark there. That means is there group karma? What is group karma? So it's like over 40 pages. I will kind of highlight the main points. There's lots of what I call case studies here. Case studies of things, of historical events, situations that affect us. Right? So we're going to look at it more from the sutta point of view, from the Dhamma point of view. Okay? Karma, as we know, is action, but it's a special kind of action. Conscious, it can be conscious, it can also be unconscious. Unconscious in the sense that you're not aware of it, but there is this, what you call, intention behind it. Traditionally, textually, karma is defined as intention. So in other words, even if you just intend, you don't act on it, it is still karma, mental karma. So you have 3 kinds of karma. Mental, something you think about. In other words, you do metta, it's good mental karma. Then there is speech karma, something that you say, so even if you don't act on it, you say it's speech karma. And then there is body karma. Okay, so body, speech and mind, these are the 3 doors, right? Now, it's useful to understand karma as a habit that we, often do. For example, people may say, I do something, but I don't see the result. The results may not come immediately, but it will come sooner or later. So, looking at karma in terms of habit helps. Yeah? So, the more often we do something, the more it becomes likely to happen again. Another important idea we must bear in mind is karma is not exactly reward and punishment. Maybe some religion may see it that way. Karma is more like whatever you do, you will become that kind of action. Whatever you think of, you become that kind of thinking. Whatever you speak of, you will act it out. So we become our karma, in other words. So, and this makes a lot of sense. For example, if we break the precepts and we enjoy killing and we behave like a murderer who hides in the dark and so on, so that means what kind of mind do we have? It's an animal mind. So if we act in this way, then when the human body, the life, the shelf life is gone, the lifespan is finished, then it's what karma have we created? We have created this animal karma, this kind of subhuman karma. So that karma takes over. So that's how it works. It's very easy to understand it that way. Now, of course, we're talking about karma on the personal level so far, and this is the normal way we understand it. This is even clearly stated in a number of suttas. You've got the 2 very closely related sutta here on page 1 at the bottom. The Deva Dutta Sutta, M130, and the Deva Dutta Yama Sutta, A3.35. In this sutta, of course, the main character is King Yama. Now, King Yama, whether you believe he exists or not, doesn't matter. He acts as a kind of like king of the underworld, ruler of the underworld. He doesn't punish anyone. His role is very interesting. So he sits in some courtyard, some kind of nice place in hell, I suppose. So there seems to be an office, So maybe it's not hell yet, but so you got to use your imagination here. This is Buddhist mythology. And these people who have done a lot of bad deeds, so they appear before him. You can imagine how many people he has to see, millions, So, and he asked every one of them the same question. Have you not seen a baby struggling in the cradle, rolling here and there. Hasn't it occurred to you that you will go through birth? And this hell being says, no, no. I mean, yes, I have seen this baby. Then King Yama asked, has it not occurred to you that you'll be subject to birth? I said, yeah, maybe I thought about that, but then why didn't you do anything about it? So, I was heedless. So everyone answered it the same way. And then, have you not seen an old man? Have you not seen a sick man? Have you not seen a dead man? Have you not seen, there are extra signs, these are 5 signs, And one more extra one is, have you not seen a criminal being punished by the law, by the king? And that this may happen to you too. And the hell being say, yes, I've said this. And what do you think about it? Why didn't you make an effort to do good? Why have you come here? And the hell being answer, I was heedless. So same answer, I was heedless all the time. So here you notice King Yama's role is very interesting. He's there almost like regretting. Why must I see you? You shouldn't have come here. Don't you see all this truth going on? So it's a very interesting role that Yama plays. And what's interesting is if you talk about karma, karma covers all beings, So King Yama was thinking about this. This part we're not told why. If you imagine all that King Yama does is to see millions and millions of beings who are reborn in hell, asking the same question, it becomes a very dull job and very sad, because you see people just be heedless. So in the end he reflects, he says, may I be reborn as a human being and meet the Buddha so that I can practice the Dharma and be liberated myself. So this is very interesting. So you have even King Yama making the aspiration. So Yama is not a fixed role. Yama, in other words, is like the Buddha, is like Mara. He's kind of like, he passes away, he has got a lifespan, and then, there are other beings who will take over his role, so to speak. So this is very interesting, the way the Buddhists see the hell states. So in other words, the next question, of course, you can ask whether this hell states exist or not. Here is where we've got to define the word exists. Right? Suppose you fear something, I don't fear it, The fear is real to you, it exists to you, but it doesn't exist to me. So existence is a private thing, subjective. So those who do a lot of evil deeds, they build upon themselves that capacity or that tendency to suffer in due course. When the guilt comes back, then they will suffer. So it is real to them. For example, if you think of all those terrible places where there are mass bombings and wars going on even right now, you can say that people that are living in hell. From the moment you wake up, you've got to look around, but be very careful. There's no bomb around, or even when you're sleeping, you've got to be careful. So, in other words, these people, the hell is in their minds. That's real. Right? Turn up there. 1 degree. So here, back to this page 1, King Yama tells the hell beings, the bad deed was not done by your mother or your father, or by your brother or your sister, or by your friends and companions, or by your kinsmen and relatives, or by recluses and Brahmins, or by gods. This bad deed was done by you yourself, and you yourself will feel its result. So here we see a very personal idea of karma. Right? So then, of course, later on, if you study other suttas like the Vaseta Sutta and so on, where we see karma defined as the job that you do. Right? The job you do also is called karma. So if you live as a hunter, then that is your karma. That's your action. So, in other words, what do we do to support ourselves? That also is part of our karma. So now that then we go on to look at something related to karma, that is the precepts, moral conduct, moral virtue. Now, moral virtue is meaningful, necessary, because there are other beings, there are other people around. Let me look at the 5 precepts. First precept against killing, right? If there are no other people, you don't have to bother about these precepts. No, there are no other beings, right? So in other words, this first precept is to respect other beings and also respect your own life, including that. But there are more other beings. And so to stealing, sexual misconduct, lying, there are always other people involved. And getting drunk, you also affect other people. So this is where we see the moral virtue means we live in a community, there are people around us. So there already you have a hint that karma somehow is connected with other people also, right? But the question now is whether there is good karma or not. We have to investigate a little further, right? Now the next thing is after dana, after sila, or rather traditionally before sila, you have dana, giving, right? And giving is said to be a meritorious act, a good act. So we give to someone. Once you give, you make a donation, you make a spiritual connection with that person. You are the giver, you earn the merit. The recipient is enjoying past good karma, and at the same time, if the recipient sends loving kindness, mudita, say sadhu, or say may you be well and happy, even say thank you. These also create good karma. So you have this kind of back and forth thing, this mutual action, right? So now we're coming a bit closer now. It's possible for people to get together and do good acts. And then you find, for example, let's say a monk comes to town. Someone invites a monk to stay in a center or monastery or temple. And then your friends tell you, hey, why don't you come over? We bring some dana, we all share and offer this dana. It's wonderful. You make an offering. In fact, there is a teaching in the suttas and commentaries that if you alone give, then the merit is yours alone. You'll be rich in the next life, but then you might not have many friends. On the other hand, if you only encourage others to give but you yourself don't give, then it's likely in the future life, your good karma is that you have a lot of friends, but you won't have enough things. But if you give and you encourage others to give also, the word they usually use is sambhagiya. In other words, you have a share of the giving. So you give and you encourage others to give, or when you know other people are giving, you also say, I'd like to join in. And that creates this wonderful karma where you become rich yourself and you have good friends because you have connected yourself with this group of people who are practicing dana. So there you already have an idea where there is such thing as group karma, when we act together with a common good intention. So we can see that there are variations. It's like what I call two ends of the practice. One is you do alone, the other is group. Both are possible depending on the situation. And of course, what about us sitting here studying the suttas, right? I'm here because you are here, right? You are here because I'm here. We are all here because there is a sutta. So possibly in the past life too, we have done this. We have been friends, we got together, we love the suttas. So here the karma ripens again, we are able to study suttas again. So things don't just happen like that, in this case. I mean, some things do just happen. I mean, things are not karma, Even for us, sometimes things may just happen. But how we relate to it gives it meaning. But for us getting together here is something, not something accidental, but something we plan, something possible because of many other conditions. The people here are very compassionate. They allow us to use this place in an unofficial capacity, right? This is not exactly officially part of the temple activity, but they're still generous enough to allow this to continue, because this is early Buddhism. This is more of a Mahayana temple, for example. Of course, the people here also learn early Buddhism. But the point is, anytime people can say, sorry, we can't allow you, this temple is for this, for that, or whatever. For any reason they can say, you can't use this place. But here you are. You have this wonderful good karma. Come here. It is a peaceful place. We have PA system. We have this aircon, quiet place. You can study sutta just the way we want it. This is good karma. This is common karma. This is, in a sense, group karma. The supporting root allow us to use this place. So that's some kind of supporting karma. And we make the effort to come here, study. So you see interaction of group karma there. So karma is very complicated, right? So to the extent that the Buddha said this is one of the four things you cannot think about. Yeah? What the Buddha is saying, if you try to figure out how this person's karma act, you can't. The explanation is not that difficult. As you study the suttas, you begin to understand the meaning of all these things. Karma is not one cause, one effect. That is superstition, right? Superstition is when something happens, you always blame one cause or one effect on it. Let's suppose somebody fell down and you say bad luck, one effect, one cause. I mean, there's so many things like someone fell down, you can say because of gravity, and so on, because the person's legs are weak, for example. So in other words, in Buddhism, we never talk of one condition bringing along one cause. We talk about many conditions, many causes, many results. Conditionality, paccaya hetu. And this is a very important teaching. It's a wonderful teaching because this kind of teaching teaches us not to blame anyone, not even ourselves if something goes wrong. If something goes wrong, we look at the conditions that brought it about. And if you understand the conditions, then you can remove those conditions. The second noble truth. First noble truth, you look at the conditions that bring about the negative state. Second condition, first noble truth is you see the suffering that's brought on by the conditions. Second truth is you see the conditions as causes. Why did it bring about all those pain and so on? And then you think of the solution, ideal state, and you act on it. So here, when we think in terms of condition, we never think of one particular person. There's no idea of self, in other words. We see a group thing in a sense, aggregate, if you like. Right? So there again, you have this idea of conditions working together, right? Looks something like almost like a group karma, so to speak. And so, next point is compassion. When we talk about compassion in Buddhism, we're always talking about other people. We have to accept other people as they are. That's kind of a passive goodness. That is loving kindness, to be exact. And then we act on it. We show them we accept them as they are. In other words, we provide them with the needs that they need at that time, and we act accordingly. That's compassion, right? So you have other people, plural. So that's, again, hint of group karma, in other words, right? And when we do something good, it is defined in this way. You can see on page 3, the teaching called the 3 purities of an action. How do we know our actions are pure? How do we purify our actions? 3 points. We should never hurt ourselves, others, or both when we act on it. What does this mean? The suttas here say, you got a few suttas here. You look at the footnote 12, 13, 14, you see a list of suttas, quite many suttas. No? Number 1, he will know his own good, the good of others, or the good of both. Right? So your own, others, both. Now, why does Buddha mention both here? Both can mean as a whole, society as a whole. Of course, in our own times, we can include nature, environment also here. Right? We are aware of environment. Some people may say, oh, this environmental ecology is a modern thing, you don't have this kind of idea at the Buddha's time. I think it's not true, because if we look at the Vinaya, there are many rules there. which are made to ensure that the monks do not pollute the environment. For example, one who says, when a monk washes his bowl, they finish eating, he washes his bowl, he should not pour the washing water. Washing water, maybe some oil and chili, things like that. You should not pour this in water where there are living beings, because the beings may die. You should not pour on grass, green grass, or growing plants where the plants may die. So we got to kind of dispose of this kind of washing water in a proper place. And yet, at the same time, the Buddha also says, if you feed the leftover food, if you are to feed it to the living beings in the water, the merits is great. So all the Buddha says, you should not pollute the water, but I also say if you feed. So in other words, you can still feed, but it should be properly done. You should not pollute the water. So there is this idea of respecting the environment, and then not to answer nature's call on living plants and things like that, right? So imagine that the monks, we have thousands of them, so these rules are very important, not to affect others in a negative way. And another interesting thing is you find awakening itself, becoming saints, the arhats. You often have stories of group awakening. For example, the 5 monks. But the 5 monks, they all became arhats around the same time. I don't know whether it's the same time or not, but more or less within, you might say, within minutes of each other even. Although they became, the first few stages were at different times. But arhathood, when they heard the Anatalakkhana Sutta, they were enlightened. And then you have Yasa's 54 friends. They also, got enlightened together. Yasa and 54 friends, Vinaya 1, volume 1, page 15, and so on. And the Kassapa brothers, the 3 of them, and they are following, about 1,000 followers, the fire worshippers. They again became enlightened at the same time. And then you have Sariputta and Moggallana, became strenuous within days of each other. And of course, their enlightenment is not exactly at the same time. They were kind of weeks apart, but close enough. Okay. And then you have 5 friends: Ananda, Bhaddiya, Anuruddha, Kimbila, Devadatta. Of course, Devadatta is an exception. You find Ananda, Bhaddiya, Anuruddha they were together, especially the middle three, Bhaddiya, Anuruddha, Kimbila. They lived together in the forest, meditated, and they got enlightened together. So you find that the fruition of some good karma also happens around the same time. So we do have this kind of interesting notion that there is good karma. Now, even more interesting is when we look at page 4, the 7 stations of consciousness and the 2 spheres. This is a very, very interesting teaching model. This is based on the 31 planes, but it is rearranged psychologically, if you like, to show the nature of consciousness in these different realms. So you see, in Buddhism, although we talk about different worlds, we also go into details, different aspects, their lifespan, their minds, and so on. So if you look at all this, even if you don't want to accept these realms as out there in outer space, we know it's possible. If you look at science fiction today, we have parallel universes, this living in different time scales that are relative time, different parts of the universe. So we can say these are possible. And for the Buddha and the ancient monks to imagine this is alone quite amazing. But we don't have to go there. If you look at these 7 stations of consciousnesses, what does it mean? It means, for example, it says if you look at let's start with the human world first. If you look at the human world, we have the first station of consciousness. Can you see there? And the sense realm. And Sanskrit says first station of consciousness, beings different in body, different in perception. Like we all here, we have 2, 4, 6 people, we have 6 bodies, all of us think independently. That's the meaning. But not all realms are like that. The lower realms, the subhuman realms, that's the station number 2, below, the bottommost. Beings different in body, same in perception. This is really interesting. For example, let's take the Titans, the Asuras. They all are filled with jealousy, same negative state of mind. Right? Pretas, never satisfied. Okay? Animals, fears, they're all they're more or less the same range of character and behavior and consciousness. Hell beings, all suffering. Right? Different bodies, same consciousness, so to speak. So there you are. Once you talk like that, we're talking about group karma. Same consciousness. Right? So an idea of group karma here. And in the heavens also, you have different kinds of devas. For example, if you look at the Brahmas, the great Brahma and the Brahmas under him, you have second station of consciousness. Again, different in body, same in perception. They all enjoy the same happiness, but they are different beings. And then higher still, higher level, these are the radiant beings. So this is very interesting. They are same in body but different in perception. So it's like, you see, because this realm, they are pure form, not physical. So their minds exist individually, but it's like one place like that. No physical body, right? So, same body, but different perception. So you can imagine what kind of realm is this. I think those science fiction like Star Wars, Star Trek people, they've been reading all this, and they start using all these ideas to write the stories. It's amazing. You watch those series, you find they're talking about the Buddhist, and they do mention Buddhism directly. And then higher still, the fourth station of consciousness, same in body, same in perception. These are very high level, just below the pure abodes. So body and mind are the same, because they are very high jhanas. But for the formless realms, it's only spheres. They're called the spheres. So that's a different kind of situation, because they have no form. Right? Anyway, not to get too technical, the point here is that it's possible for beings to have different bodies but same consciousness. So that is already group karma, the result of karma, if you like. So where does this bring us? It is how we look at things, right? Try not to think too fixed a manner, because ideas are very fluid. It's how you look at the situation. It's a way of looking, and then you explain that way, like that. So, and you find the Buddha often will say that. For example, how many kinds of feelings are there? It depends how you look at it. In terms of time, you have 3 kinds of feelings. In terms of person, also you got 3 kinds, and then you multiply, you get 9, and so on. So that's one way of understanding reality. Well, I hope so far you can follow what we're saying. Any difficulties? Any questions?
So far you've been talking about good karma as being good.
Bad karma also. Same.
Good karma. So fast. So far you've been just speaking of good karma in the context of good karma.
Okay.
What about bad good karma?
Yes, we'll come to that next section. Okay. There's a story of Vidudaba 2.3.1. Okay, Vidudaba is the King Pasenadi's son. And this is on page 7. You see, this King Pasenadi is a great devotee of the Buddha. So he wants to make sure that he is closely associated with the Buddha, partly political also. Because Buddha is very influential. So if you're close to the Buddha, people also respect you. But the Kshatriyas, they were very jealously endogamous. They do not allow marriage outside the clan. Again, power, idea of power. Because once someone marries outside the clan, then you're connected. The group, you have to protect them. So they keep everyone within the clan. So this clan is fiercely self-aware, very proud of each other. Very clannish, very tribal. The question now is, how do they please the king? Because the king gets upset, the king will attack them. So they came with a ruse. Mahanama got one of his slave girls and claimed that she is a Kshatriya woman, And so no one knows, everyone kept quiet about it. So that the king marries her, not knowing that she's actually a low caste woman. And things went well for a while, until one day something stupid happened. This prince was born, and he was sitting on the bench, and then he got up, and this servant came and had to wash the bench clean, and said, these people, they sit everywhere, so I got to wash this bench and so on, this caste system. So when this prince heard that, then he asked why. Then he found out the real story. My mother was of a low caste. So he got very angry. He didn't tell the father. In fact, the king personally did not know about it even until his death. But this young prince knew. He got very upset. Then he vowed vengeance. As I'm going to kill, destroy, massacre the Sakya tribe. And when the father died, a very tragic death, he did that. He carried out his vow. So although the Buddha tried to stop him 3 times, the Buddha, after one knew the karma was so strong, the group karma of the Sakya is very strong, and it's ripening. That's another way of saying the Buddha did not have enough influence. I would say, if you're a politician, you might say, the reality is the Buddha was not influential enough. Okay, so it again depends on how we look at it. It doesn't matter. King Viduddhava decides to attack the Sakyas, and the story went that the Sakyas were so peaceful by that time. They were the Buddha's clan. Many of them didn't even fight. They just give a token defense, and many of them died. Others ran away, scattered all over the place. Some went to the Himalayas and they started their own kingdoms and so on and so forth. And then you have another story, people claiming to be Sakya. Even today you have people with the name Sakya. So the interesting story is this. So Viduddhava's army, having routed the Sakyas, destroyed the Sakya kingdom, they rested. That time there was a riverbed, there was no water there. So some soldiers rested on the riverbed, some on the slope, some on the high ground. And something happened in the night. You see, because there was a thunderstorm, and this heavy rain in the mountains is going to come down, and you're going to flood dry riverbeds. Now, if you go camping in Malaya, or the northern peninsular Malaysia, you go to Taman Negara, for example, we normally go in the dry season. But even then, in the dry season, you have to be careful, because in the mountains it can rain any time. The rain can be quite heavy. And you go there, you see these riverbeds, they are almost empty. There's just a tiny stream, and it's very fun to just move around the dry riverbed. But if you look down and look for nice little pebbles and so on, and you turn your back against the mountain, and if there's a thunderstorm, this water will just come down suddenly and just wash. And some people are known to drown that way. So we always told, the moment you hear thunder in the jungle, you get out of the dry riverbed. So the story went back to Viduddhava's story. His soldiers, those who were sleeping on the dry riverbed, who have good karma, ants came and bit them. They were uncomfortable, so they have to get up and they move up to higher ground. Okay? The others slept comfortably, snoring away, or maybe they didn't feel anything. So I say karma works very strange ways, But the ants doesn't know anything about karma, So we are talking about causes, effects. Many, many causes, many effects went together. I mean, some people could have said, oh, they just kind of wipe off the ants and continue sleeping, Others said, oh, this place too many ants, and then they move up, So all those good guys, those karma were not right yet, they all moved up. So then the water came and washed away all those other guys, including Viduddhava, I think, and they all drowned. So you have group karma. all these people dying together, right? The most famous good karma is, of course, our families. The fact that we are born into a family, we have been close to each other, or we have been nasty to each other. Because being nasty also, you create karma, you link together, That is why we need metta. It is better to link happily with each other than link negatively and live together for a long, long time. So, very good example of good karma. So there you see, you have these two tension, you have these two ways of looking at karma, individual, group. Okay. Of course, you can even say when karma acts, it works singly, yes, but then you have concurrence of karma. They kind of ripen at the same time. That also is possible, right? Like we all coming here studying together. So you have a coincidence, concurrence of karma. That also is possible. So we can say a safe answer at this point would be both are possible. Or another way, even be more technical, all our karma are individual, like individual stars, But sometimes when the stars are so close together, you see like it's one big bright light. Yeah, correct. So much so that the scholars who are studying all these things about karma, they start looking at it more technically. So they talk about group karma by way of aggregate and conglomerate. Wow, these are big terms. Aggregate, it means like each of you here, you did not, except for Anna and I, you did not consult each other to come here. You all came individually by your own effort. So that's your individual karma. But by coming here, all your karma unify when you're listening to the talk now, for example. So this is called aggregate karma. This is a modern term, aggregate. Aggregate means just put together artificially. Okay? But suppose you and I, we say, maybe you all decide, say, okay, we want to print this book, so you all decide, idea together, and then you donate for printing the book. That is conglomerate, you do it together. Or another example is you have, these are the bad guys, they got together and start planning, they say, we want to rob a bank. So everyone is important. So they rob the bank, and that's bad group karma, right? Another example, another good group karma is a surgeon who is operating on the patient. Usually the surgeon alone can't do it. So you have all kinds of people, assistants working to help. Now the question now is, whose good karma is this? Right? So we would say everyone involved in the operation is connected. Because someone is missing, you find that operation will not be successful. On the other hand, the key idea there, of course, is the surgeon himself. So you might say that he is the key figure. So this is where, on whom does the brunt of responsibility weigh, okay, on this key figure, right? For example, I have one very interesting case. It is not exactly group karma, but rather matter of responsibility. One of my students long ago, he wrote to me, he was in the army, he says, I'm trying to keep the precepts, but my commander says, I got to kill a quail, or sometimes some of these other animals. I got to kill a quail and eat it. I said, I just can't do it. I said, well, but my karma if I kill a quail. Now that's quite a difficult question for me to answer also, And I can't be silent because this person wants an answer. So I say, you have to decide for yourself, okay? But remember, there are two possible ways. You don't do it, you face a consequence, punishment, okay, that's one. The other ones, you do it, you're just following orders. But the real karma would be with the commander who told you to do this. That's one way, if there's any comfort. Because killing is killing. I mean, the worst thing I can say, oh, it's okay, then I have taken the brunt of karma. Because the person will quote or Piya say it's okay. So be very careful how you answer the first question, Right, so some people, they just want you to be responsible. They don't want to be responsible. Hey, what do you think? And what you tell them, you'll be quoted. Okay, in law, you say, be careful, you'll be quoted. Right? So by karma, we say, you'll be responsible. So be very careful what we tell people. That is why in counseling we are very careful not to advise people unless we know the advice we give will be well taken and the results will be good. And compassion also means you have the courage to face the consequences of your action, good or bad. Because we don't know how it will turn out sometimes. But we are willing to suffer for it, so to speak. But you have wisdom. So wisdom kind of helps you to make this compassion less faulty, right? And the compassion makes wisdom more active. So they work together like that. Wisdom is the knowledge to do it. Compassion is the actual act of doing it. They work together. Any question meantime?
Yeah, here in the example of the surgeon just now, you said, if I understood you correctly, you said that he takes the lead.
Yes.
Takes the lead in what? In karma?
In the whole process. So, in other words, yeah, in a sense, he bears the brunt of the good action. He's the key figure, key player.
So, the flip side, or similarly, would you say, would it be possible to extrapolate this idea further to the fluctuation, the good fortune or the bad fortune of a group of people due to the presence due to the presence of somebody in the group. Simply put, in simple English, for example, the family's fortune took a run because of the birth of the child, or misfortune because of the birth of the child.
Okay.
Is there any sense in this, or any truth in this?
Put it this way. Again, there is no direct answer there because karma is a very personal, very individual thing. So there are no blanket answers. General theories, yes, but you can't explain the cases too generally. Okay. Although I gave the example of this the surgeon and his team, and the surgeon being the key figure there, you must remember there are many other good karma acting also. What about the karma of the patient himself? I mean, you could get the best surgeon in the world, the best team, best medicine, best instruments, best place, best procedures, but this man still doesn't survive because his karma is such. So in other words, the interplay of many karma, that's one thing to bear in mind. Now talking about someone who does a lot of good stuff, good person, well-to-do, rich, but the child dies, let's say, okay? Again, that part is missing, that particular part, the karma is not strong. So sometimes someone can enjoy a lot of good karma here, but certain parts missing. That's possible too. Or everything is good, but some past karma just hits back. This is where even people like us, we try our best to keep precepts, to do the right thing. Some people think that we're still not good. Can you imagine, I do my sutta translation, for example. Some people will say, oh, this is too difficult, too many footnotes, too thick, all kind of funny comments, and so we know that they really either don't like it or they don't like me personally, So it's hard to explain why. Sometimes I wonder if I'm different. Maybe if I'm an Angmo or a rich man and I come here to teach you. Maybe people see me differently, So it's our perception. People see people differently. So what am I to do? I say, it's okay. I must look at the people who won the suttas. So we must not direct our minds to something negative. More important than that is, if something bad happens, let's say, suddenly a temple says, no, you cannot use this premises anymore. We don't want sutta anymore. For some strange reason. Okay? So we tell ourselves, okay, we can't, despite our efforts, we still can't have sutta. So it's alright. We move on. And you find somehow bad karma will ripen, but good karma also will take place. So we learn from the bad karma equals suffering. Bad karma usually equals suffering. Again, suffering is self-defined, You can make it suffering or you don't have to. But one thing very important is bad karma or suffering, there's something to learn there. what do I do now? From the Tana Sutta, the Buddha says, you have tried your best, but still things don't work out your way. So you should ask yourself, what do I do next? So this is where we let the past karma move on, finish. That doesn't trouble us anymore. That's one way. Patience. No? So families who suffer misfortune in this way, they normally will tell you, I'm letting this pass on. I have let go of it already. That they are wise. But there's really nothing you can do about this in this case, especially when the karma is already gone, already happened. Right? But if you can prevent it, that's different. If you can prevent it, for example, the child is sick, and you have the means to heal the child or do something to help the child, fine. So in other words, we have choices. We have choices. Alright? To let go of the thought of negative thought, or to go into action where we can use some action. Now, animals also create karma, you know. There are lots of stories here. I'm only going to focus on group stories. There's this famous story of we can call it the Abhidhamma bats, if you like. It's a very cute little story. This is on page 9, 2.4.1. The Dhammapada commentary is saying that along this Sariputta was teaching, you know, and there were these 500 monks listening to him, and kind of they all were very attentive and so on, because their personality is such. The story went that in the past life, they were in the time of Kassapa Buddha. Kassapa Buddha is the Buddha just before ours, right? They were bats. There were 500 bats living in the cave, and the monks also, a few monks also living in the cave, and they were reciting this Abhidhamma according to this story, this legend, if you like. It's a very nice, mellifluous stone, you know. And these bats were listening. Of course, bats don't understand Pali or any of these words, but the tone, because they chanted with loving kindness, they felt good about it. And as they listened, you know, lifespan of bats are not that long. They died, they all died. They didn't die because of the chanting, they just died because the lifespan is short. And dying that way, of course, you know, is a great way to go, you know. So then, in the last life, they were reborn as monks, or rather, they became monks, you know. And because of their nature of, they're stuck on the ceiling and listening to this chanting, you know. So the habit of staying in one place is there. So in the last life, they also kind of patiently listened to the teaching, and then they got enlightened. So there you have another interesting story of group karma. All right? And so here we're talking about karmic links. And so karma is only one aspect of what happens to us. Let's say if I were, I think I won't use myself here. If someone were to fall down, okay, the person can blame and say, oh, you know, it's my karma. Okay, I'm not sure how the karma works that way, but some people may say that way because they're not supposed to fall, they fell, it's really bad for them. Someone else can blame, say, oh, the steps are not even, you know, and then try to sue somebody, you know. So in other words, you have many explanations, all right? So you have 5 conditions actually. One of them is the law of heat, temperature. For example, we can fall sick because of the temperature changes, not karma, okay? But how you react to this suffering, whether you're happy or not happy about it, may be your karma. And there is the law of genetics. For example, the fact that we are born human is because we come from human parents. And yet at the same time, it's because of our good karma, we are propelled into human birth. So you have this kind of different conditions working together. And then you have other laws, like laws governing gravity. You know? Let's say if I one day walk near the, those tower, my block, and then someone drops the bamboo pole and it hits me, I can't say it's karma. I mean, it's just, gravity, right? But how, if I get very upset about it, oh yeah, I'm getting back karma. So I should not get upset about it. I say, it's okay, it's just gravity. Of course, provided this person didn't purposely drop it and make sure it hits me, you see. He didn't do that, right? So there are other conditions. Karma is only one of them. So we got to examine the situation properly, in other words. This is called the niyamas, pancha niyama, the 5 universal laws. We have a separate chapter on that elsewhere in the ST series. Now what about countries' karma? Does Singapore have good karma? Well, yeah, I suppose we can say in a sense, because Singapore is such a small place, we tend to, somehow get together. But the country as a whole is hard to say. There's too many people. Maybe a cabinet of ministers, I suppose you can say they think together, they say, okay, we're going to have these old folks who are pioneers, they're going to get lots of benefit, So I suppose that thought started with one person, right? And then others agree. Of course, the people could say, oh, I object, don't have enough money. So you have good karma, you have bad karma, you see. So again, here's tricky. You've got to see the situation. You see the action, what are they doing, all right? Of course, generally, people in this country obey the law. We generally respect the law, generally because there are some who don't. So you can say that idea of wanting to respect the law, that mentality we have as Singaporeans, in a sense, when we do it together, especially when we are together, the fact we are likely to respond in a certain similar way, I would say that is a kind of common karma too. But it's too flimsy though, this one. But it does give a kind of an idea that karma can be national. If there is a war on, like in the Second World War, you can say, yes, the karma of Great Britain, is such that Germany could not conquer it. Yeah, maybe you can talk like that. Not really helpful. It's better to talk in terms of politics, history, maybe. But it's possible, like I said, it's possible. Okay. It's just extra comment I'd like to make. I don't think it's really, people usually think that way, but it's interesting to do so. In other words, we can act as a group, provided there is this esprit de corps and common agreement. So when does personal karma become group karma then? It's very easy to answer this. It's when the individual agrees with what the group is doing. Then it becomes group karma. Alright? For example, let's say, by agreeing to come for this class, we have this wonderful group karma. Alright? So you find you have a sense of peace, wisdom arises in you, and so on. And sometimes this group karma can be quite diffuse, For example, even as I sit in my study at my home, I'm contacting with numerous people all over the world, in different parts of the world, people I've never been to even, and they're all studying the same thing, the Sutta discovery. So we are all linked. It's all group karma, but they are all individuals in different parts of the world. But because the same mind, agreeing to the same intention, that's group karma.
Common intention.
Common intention. So you can say simple, the rule of thumb here is intention. Individual intention, common intention. Right? You have this parallel in the law, we say a legal person, for example. So your legal person is like a society, so they all have a common intention. That's another way of looking at it. So of course, we also have what I call the main action, contributory action, and so on. For example, in the case of the surgeon operating, if someone dies, we normally blame the surgeon, we don't blame anyone else, unless someone was especially negligent. The second person to blame usually is the anesthetist, But again, the many conditions, okay? So, you may be part of a group. Let's say there is this group of robbers and you're somehow caught up with it. If you do it unwillingly, then of course the karma is less or inoperative. As you know, even in the law, if the lawyer or the person himself can prove that he was forced into it, then of course he will not be punished, or maybe less punishment. And of course, in terms of karma, he has not created bad karma like the other people did. So again, how involved are you? What is your intention in this kind of situation? So you can imagine if a group is controlled very powerfully by an idea, let's say a God idea, and there you find the group karma is even stronger. The group idea will feel, everyone say, yes, we should destroy our enemies. We should bomb them, mass killing, Wow, you can find that the group karma will be even more real. So you got to see how strong and how common the intention is. So this way we have to be very careful not to promote such negative kind of group karma. So in other words, you have, instead of group karma, you can say social karma. It's also possible to talk that way. This also means that it's very important we have good leaders, good teachers, so that the kind of group we are with is a wholesome group, positive group, from which we become positive and good individuals too. Right? It works like that. Otherwise, a whole group can become neurotic, a group can become pathological. Now in this Eric Fromm, he used the term pathology to describe this. He says a society can be pathological. I think he was thinking of Germany under Hitler, a country that was willing to attack other countries, for example. Now, in a sense, we can apply this social pathology to our own society in terms of general tendencies, where people are more worried about money and they don't care about other people, where the marriage problem is so huge and people not taking care of the old, neighbors don't talk to each other, things like that. You find these are serious contributing factors to unhappiness and suffering and mental ill health. So you have a kind of a common bad karma here, and we need to work hard to correct this. And the fruit of this may not happen in this generation, but it doesn't mean we should not do it. So we should lay the groundwork of healing our society, of directing our society in healthy direction. We begin now. So that's where teaching suttas like this, teaching meditation, doing Buddhist counseling, Buddhist therapy become very meaningful. We're laying the groundwork for the future. So whenever you come here to study the suttas, you're not just doing it for yourself. You're also carrying on, preserving the teachings for the next generation. You are the conduit for the happiness of the future. So in that sense, you are contributing to the future good karma also. At least we should think that way. Otherwise, it'll be quite selfish, isn't it? We just do it for ourselves, and that's it, That can never happen. That's the other reality, It's just, it never stops with us. The moment we talk with somebody, we give someone a book, there is always this communication. So in a sense, we cannot escape group karma if you live in society. And for example, the way Buddhism disappeared from India also, you can explain that way. That somehow Buddhism has degenerated, it became very institutionalized, ritualized, monetized, and so on and so forth. So these marauding hordes, these Turks who came from the West, they knew the temples were rich, and they heard of gold images and so on, so they wanted all these things. They just want wealth and assets, so they just destroyed the monasteries, killed the monks, and took over these things. So once we thingnify Buddhism, once more people in Buddhism start thinking in that way, then we're heading for some kind of destruction. So we'll be very careful. So in that sense, you might say the preservation of Buddhism is not really in the group karma, It is individual karma. As long as there's one person who thinks good, like the Buddha, there's a chance the Dharma, good chance the Dharma will continue. So personal effort is the key. So the more personal effort is made, the more likely the teaching will progress and flourish. On the karma of Singapore Buddhism, you can read page 30, so there's some extra things there for your reading. Now, how to promote good group karma? Well, you have different teachings there. Yeah? Page 30, 7.5, responsible social action. There are what I call the 4 conditions for social welfare. The first is generosity, dana. Dana means giving. When we give, we're actually giving a part of us, energy, to help others be able to do something for themselves. So in Buddhism, in other words, wealth is a way of helping the group, helping others. Wealth is a celebration of your goodness. Unfortunately, in capitalism, change our way of thinking. You must deserve this wealth. Deserve means what? We must measure. How much work have you done for me? Then I give you so much money. Whereas the Buddhist idea is, I give it to you, even though you don't deserve it, but you need it. You don't deserve it, meaning you've done nothing for me, I'll still be kind to you. For example, we see someone on the road who needs help, we help that person. We don't even know who this person is. But because the person needs help, we help. The person doesn't deserve our help, but the person needs our help. Okay? So it is a very important concept, but you find a lot of people get confused with this, right? They'll tell you, why should I help you? What have you done for me? Or what will you do for me? That's not Buddhistic at all. That is measuring. Okay? So generosity is not measuring. Then there is pleasant speech, positive communication. Sometimes by speech alone we can make people happy, right? We don't go around saying it's all right. Perhaps we can say never mind, don't think about negative things, right? So speaking Dharma in a good way is pleasant speech. Beneficent conduct, then your actions also, you're kind to people, right? You help others through your action, in other words. I have people are very kind, for example, they drive me here, they drive me home. I have like a group of people helping me, because it's very difficult for me at my age now, especially to move around, especially have to carry so many things, So this is called beneficent conduct, good action, attacharya, number 3. So we give people transport, right? In other words, what we are doing is we are giving them comfort, but also prolonging their life. In a sense, we're preventing a lot of bad things that could happen, right? So, in that sense, it's good karma. Then you have impartiality. This is quite tricky. Samanatata, even-mindedness. Try as much as we try to be even-minded, unbiased. As unawakened people, somehow we may have some biases, but we can try to be open-minded, to accept others as they are. Only the great saints, they are open to each other. It is said that the stream winner and another stream winner, they have the same minds. So too, non-returners with non-returners, one-returner, one-returners, arhats with arhats, their mind reflect each other harmoniously. So these 4 things are very important to remember, especially when we are doing Dharma work, giving talks. And of course, there's the very famous 4 divine emotions, divine virtues, or divine abodes. Loving kindness. May all beings be well and happy. All beings. That's a community already. That is a group already. And then compassion, acting on it. Right? Benefiting others. When a lot of people benefit, it's good karma. And rejoicing in the good of others. I'm happy at the fact that you all love studying the sutras. Right? Rejoicing in the goodness of others. And then equanimity, be calm, accepting situations as they are. This is the way Singaporeans, we accept it as it is, and we move on. We move along, trying to make things better. So these are the 4 divinables. Correct. Yeah, they're called immeasurables because you cannot measure loving kindness. If it is measured, then it's not loving kindness anymore. Now, we have a clear case of group karma. This is definitely group karma, very technical. And you know what this is? The Vinaya Act, Sangha Act, Vinaya Act, Sangha Karma. This is a technical term, Sangha Karma. In other words, the monks get together and do something as Sangha. Very similar to parliamentary acts. If there is a karma of Singapore, it takes place in parliament, where laws are passed, where the people there debate and say, okay, we are going to have this law, and it affects everybody. Right? So, for example, when I became a monk, first I tell my abbot, I said, I'm to be a monk. The abbot says, sadhu, very good. And then he put me through training. And then once I'm ready, then he gets 20 monks. We will assemble in conclave. That means they have a special platform, 20 monks there, and the lay people must stay some distance away. It's because it is purely Sangha act. The Sangha do it as a legal person, from our terminology. So this is done in a special way. You have the presiding monk. It's called what you call preceptor. Okay, and then you have the Kama Vachacharya, he recites the act, and you have the Anu Savanacharya, who gives the teaching. The Kama Vachacharya, he will recite, it's very interesting passage. He will say, we have before us this candidate called Piya, at that time not a monk yet, so his name is Piya. They have to use Pali because they have to change the form of the word. And he has applied to be a monk. So this is the first mention, first reading. If no one objects to this, please show it by your silence. And then you will just a few seconds you remain silent and say, okay, by your silence, I take it for the first time, you have no objection. And then here comes the second round, it goes repeats everything again, and say, okay, by your silence, the second time, I accept the fact that you agree to his ordination. And the third time. And then by the third time, he changes his tone a bit to a kind of minor key and says, now we hereby accept Piya said, oh, he's a bhikkhu, he's a monk. And then look at the time, so look at the clock. So they will note down the time. So if someone has ordained in another temple, it happens to be 1 minute after me, we meet each other and we say, oh brother, so we don't know who's going to wish each other. First we say, how many vasa are you? And the other person say, I'm 10 vasa. I say, oh, I'm also 10 vasa. I say, oh, then you ask, when are you ordained? What time? Okay? What day, what time? Okay, so it's about same day, same day, they say what time, okay? And from there, once you know, okay, this other person, let's say the other person is 1 minute before me, then I'll say, oh, okay, Bante, so it's the junior above to the senior. So you have order in the order, right? And the way of sitting also like that. So this is Sangha Karma. This is conventional karma, okay? But again, you can take it as a group karma because the monks accept this monk, they allow him to become a monk. So it's both conventional as well as spiritual in a sense. Right, so we come to the conclusion now. First point to remember, this is on page 39, 9.7, section 9.7, significance of good karma. Points you must remember. Number one, karma works individually. Technically karma works individually. But you can notice group karma when there is concurrence of results or action, okay, or intention. Next point, first one should be group. Group karma is a useful concept. It helps us to understand how we can work as groups, makes us understand the importance of friendship, positive friendship, and so on. And most important of all, karma reminds us that we are all interrelated. Somehow we are interconnected. Whatever I do will affect you, affect other people, affect the future. So group karma is a concept that is helpful in that way. Okay, so I hope this presentation has given you some clarity, nature of karma, especially good karma. Any questions you have?
Yeah, there's a sutta where the Buddha says that it's a sutta where it's stated that karma may not necessarily ripen if there are no conditions. In other words, put it the other way around, not all karma will ripen.
Yeah, true.
There must be conditions.
Yes.
I remember reading this sutta,
Yeah.
and I think the Buddha said that, I can't remember the specifics, but not all karma will ripen
Yeah.
because the conditions may not come to the
Yeah.
fore.
Yeah.
So if that is applied to individual karma, how is it, or does it apply to a group karma? Because you have good karma, same intention, same results,
Yeah.
whether negative or positive.
Yeah.
So how do you apply or don't apply that to group karma?
Well, you have this karma ripening, but each individual will respond according to his tendency, personality. So, yeah, I mean, there is a concurrence of results, yes, but each will respond individually.
So if you have a group karma where, to put it very simplistically, you're a bunch of criminals and all took part in massacre or
Yeah, yeah.
killing, right?
Yeah.
So that is a group thing.
Yes.
So you apply that the sutta, if it is applicable at
Yeah.
all, does it necessarily ripen? In other words, so all the 6 murderers
Yeah.
may not necessarily reap the
Yeah,
karma.
it will not necessarily ripen at the same time. It can be later on.
Or may not ripen at all.
And not in, yeah. There are
Because the
cases,
conditions are not
yes, that's possible too, that's possible. May, that's the operational word, but we don't know. Usually they will, because we have many lives, right? But even someone who has done the worst karma, they can still get awakening with under proper conditions.
Yeah, right, Arjuna.
Yes.
Right?
Angulimala, you have this a drunk, Sarakani, and so on. Under proper guidance, it's possible, but it can be tedious. And this person who is helping you must have very good wisdom in the teachings. That's why we need to master the Dharma, so that we can be healers to others. We can know how to talk to our loved ones, to comfort them. Right? So yes, good karma may happen, but it affects people individually. Right? They may or may not feel it at the same time.
So you may get away with it, so to speak.
No, when we appear to get away from it, but it's just temporarily. It will come back. And when it does come, it hits real hard because the condition as such, it will overwhelm this person. If the person is like, let's say in the next life, the person is a good person, the bad karma will come and you say, how come I'm a good person yet I suffer all these things? Then of course if he gets into, he has this power of recalling past life, all in the past life. That's what happened, see? So sometimes bad things to happen to good persons because something done in the past. So this good person will be wise and say, okay, I'm going to let this pass. I'm going to ask for forgiveness or whatever. Alright? So we don't really get away from it, but we can prevent the fruition, yes. I think in the sutta, the Buddha says something like, not all karma ripens. Because if all karma ripens, it's impossible for us to get awakening, see? But so here we're talking about potential. It's like we are each a lightning rod, So if a lightning rod, every time a lightning strike, there's a chance you get hit. So each karma is like a lightning rod, see? So if there's no storm, you're fine. Yeah, you get away with it. But once there's a storm, then you will strike. So that kind of idea. The point is, the simple rule of thumb is no one really gets away from karma because we're talking about, of course, you may see, wow, it's dramatic result. No, it's not always dramatic. Sometimes it happens very slow, insidiously. For example, this person, no matter what, he will never be able to come for Sutta study. He will never meet a good teacher. He's always messing his life up somehow. And yet he's always rich and healthy, whatever. But the happiness is missing. So it's quite tricky. We can never really know exactly how it works. But the person is not happy. Actually, it's happening very commonly in Singapore. You find a lot of people earning high income, but they're not happy. Right? So, ongoing karma. So don't think of karma, as I said, don't think of karma as just merely results, like particular palpable result. In fact, very often result of karma is not palpable. You cannot notice it. It is what you become because of your karma. So if you habitually do bad karma, you might become a habitually selfish person. And if you're habitually selfish, you won't be happy. Right? So it's an ongoing thing. What you become, that's the karma, right? For example, after all these years of studying the suttas, just for me to look at it, I feel very happy. So it's a very natural reaction. So I told myself, wow, I'm happy that this is happening. So I want to maintain this flow of joy. So once you keep on doing like that, it becomes easier. Conversely also, if someone does bad, it's going to get easier doing bad. So you've got to change gear. Right? Okay, any other questions?
You mentioned 5 universal laws just now.
Yeah.
Is that about 5 universal laws?
Okay, the 5 universal laws control what's going on all around us. When things happen to us, let's say if I fall sick, I should not say it's only because of karma, not necessary. Number one is the law of heat. That means, law, the physical laws, right? And then the Utu Niyama, law of heat. And this is temperature, coldness, and so I can get sick because of that. Then there is the law of seeds, Bija Niyama, seeds, Bija Niyama. Seeds, genetics, hereditary traits. For example, human beings give birth to human. It's not karma. It's a nature of genetics. A mango seed will bring a mango plant, genetics. And then there is law of karma. Number 3, law of karma. And then number 4 is the law of mental processes, the way the mind works. All right? For example, this is the way we remember things, the way we forget things. So if you understand the working of your mind, it also is another way the mind works. Then the last one is called Dhamma Niyama. This is a tricky one. All the other things that cannot be explained normally is lumped into this last one. For example, the Buddha's miraculous qualities. He's able to perform various miraculous acts, so it's classed under this last group. This last group seems to include gravity also. So all this miscellaneous is under the last group. Gravity, gravitation, things going down. So these are the 4. Of course, if you want this article 5, okay? If you want this article, just email us. We'll send you this article, okay? I don't know whether there's a reference here or not on the 5 niyamas. There are lots of footnotes here, so you can, from the footnote, you can continue your study into other aspects of karma. I don't think I mentioned the niyamas here.
And you mean to say that this 5 universal laws were conceived during Buddha's time?
No, the 5 universal laws are just laws, they're natural laws. The Buddha observed them and just mentioned them, that's all. I mean, they're all around. Whether Buddha's arise or not, they're all around. Okay, it looks like you can email me, I'll send it to you, okay? Any other question? Well, now comes the happy part. The ending of the study, I feel very light, So I've created good karma, finished my old karma, done my duty, time to go back to my family. It's a great feeling like within nirvana. So we have done another wonderful session of study. I don't know how many sessions we have done, but believe me, these are very great occasions for celebrating. Okay, so let us spend a quiet moment reflecting. As we come here for our study, every thought, every action, every word we say contributes to this very good, wonderful, good karma we are doing as a group. With all this good karma we have done, by the power of such good karma, may in this life itself we be well and happy, be successful, and grow in wisdom. Above all, when we meditate, may we achieve concentration, wisdom, and attainments, free ourselves from suffering. And by all the good deeds we have done, especially our faith in the three jewels, our generosity, and many other good things we are practicing, keeping the precepts and so on, may we attain spiritual liberation, especially stream winning in this life itself. In this moment of peace, let us radiate our loving kindness to all the beings here, that they may be well and happy. To all the teachers, may they grow in wisdom and kindness, and may they enjoy good health, and also those who work hard for this temple and other Buddhist centers be well and happy and grow in kindness and wisdom too. And may our relatives and loved ones too be well and happy. And also those whom the Dharma have not touched, may they see the Dharma and be well and happy too. May all beings be well and happy. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.